Are you a usable Christian? That's very important to know. Because most of people will tell me, of course I'm a usable Christian. Of course God can use me. And most of Christians, like, they're really sure that God can use them 100% of the time. And what I mean by God using me, it's not always about going in ministry. It's not always about doing activity in my local church. It's my everyday life too. It's those things, yes, but it's in my everyday life too. And it's not because I am in a ministry, it's not because I've started a ministry that I'm usable by God. Sadly, many Christians are in ministry and they're not usable by God. Sadly, many Christians are in activity in their local churches, Sunday school, youth group, connect group, food, whatever, and they're not usable by God. So my point is today, it's not because I am in an activity in my local church. It's not because I do things in my everyday life for the kingdom. And it's not because I am in ministry maybe full time that I am usable by God. Many Christians, many Christians, sadly, are in all those things, but they're not usable by God. How can I see that? By the fruits. Always the same recipe, always the same pattern. Jesus said, you recognize them by their fruits. And I get the fact that he said that in a different context, but he said that you can recognize people by their fruits. So I can apply that if I'm usable by God or not. Do I have fruits? I got to be objective, humble with myself, and see if I have fruits. So if you're in ministry, if you're engaged in an activity in your local church, or I don't know, if you choose to work for the kingdom, go in the street, evangelize people regularly, if you don't have good result, it might be something else. But there's a good chance that you are not a usable person by God. And not be a usable person does not mean always, I don't want to be usable. Because most of people, they want to be usable by God. And they most of the time 100% sure that they are usable by God. And they are used by God too. But if I don't have good result, there's a good chance that I'm not. And it's not because, again, I'm in all those things that automatically God is using me. I can go there by myself. Maybe God never called me to do that. That would be a sad point, but it happens sometimes. I've seen sometimes Christians going in tracks where God never called them because maybe he called them somewhere else and they made a mistake. So that can be one case. Another instance can be, I want to fulfill something personal. So that will be most of the time out of pride. And people are not always aware of that. Most of the time, this comes from immaturity. And when I am in immaturity, I can't see that I'm doing that wrong most of the time. So am I a usable Christian? We're going to see that today. And I'm not going to go around telling you, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, or don't do this, or don't do that. No, I'm just going to give you a few rules that you can apply in your life to check if you are a usable Christian. And I can't stress more enough on the fact that it's so important to be usable by God. Because if I am not usable by God, well, He can't use me. And if God can't use me, there's no supernatural in my life. There's no supernatural in my activity, in my ministry. Everything will be from a human standpoint. And I can get good results sometimes. I mean, good enough. But nothing compared to what the Bible says. Nothing compared to what the apostle had in their ministry, for instance, or many other people in the Bible, most of the time in the New Covenant. Well, we got description of the result that they got in their lives. So I would say that the first point is to be a humble person. Are you a humble person? And I get the fact, and I'm going to say that, I'm not going to say that all the time, but most of the time, when I'm not humble, people will tell you, of course I'm a humble person. Of course I'm humble. Of course I use humility in my life. And again, all that, we're going to talk about humility, we're going to talk about self-discipline and a bunch of other things. Are you objective with yourself? You got to be honest and objective with yourself. Are you a humble person? Very easy to see. Do you get upset when someone tries to offend you? Do you get upset when someone doesn't agree with you? Think about it. Don't say yes, 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 but try to get some instance of your life when maybe someone tried to offend you and you didn't get offended. Or maybe when someone disagreed with you and you didn't get offended. You didn't get upset. You just reply and have a normal conversation out of love, expressing your point of view, which is totally fair enough. Or maybe say, well, okay, I was wrong. We talked about that in previous teaching a few weeks ago. Do you remember when we said we got to be sure sometimes? We got to be sure that we are humble. And how can we see that? When I accept to be wrong sometimes. Do you accept to be wrong sometimes? Do you listen to people? And again, I'm not saying we gotta swallow every camel that people can ask for us. It's not what I'm saying at all. But are you a humble person? Examine yourself. Do you things for the kingdom, for God, or for you first? What is your purpose? Getting video, getting photo, put on social media everywhere. And I'm not against that. I mean, we do that in TRGN, of course. But what is your real motivation behind that? Is it you? Like, oh, look what I'm doing. Oh, wow, that's nice. I'm proud of myself. Or is it, I want the kingdom to move forward in the lives of people? Yes, this includes sometimes that I can be on social media, that I can make video of myself, of course. If I'm maybe in a teaching area, fair enough, like we are in TRGN. I mean, I'm doing a video of myself today. But the purpose is not myself. The purpose is you, to grow, to move forward. So what's your motivation in everything you do? Is it the kingdom to move forward? Is it to see results in the life of others? Is it the love that you have for your neighbor? Is it because you want to serve as a humble person? So this is very, very important to understand and very, very important to see in your life. Again, you have to be honest and objective with yourself. Really, really honest. And if you can see some areas where you're not so humble, because usually it's not on and off. It's not like I'm 100% humble or I'm 100% pride. No. Most of the time there's glimpse here and there where, well, in that case, I was not really humble. Or in that case, oh yes, I was humble. But in that other instance, yeah, I get upset and that was not out of humility. So you get to find all those instances in your life. Again, it's not something like full on left or full on right. No. Everything is mixed up in our lives. It's like if we got a big bucket and there's millions and millions, millions of instances of attitudes, of words, of actions that we can do in our lives. Some can be out of pride, some can be out of humility. And I have to sort them out and take every pride out of the way and put humility in it. So don't try to think, well, that's it, I'm 100% humble. No, I'm 100% humble. Or, oh yeah, that's true, I'm 100% pride. No. As I said, everything is mixed up, and you have to be honest and objective with yourself and take instances one after the others. Examine yourself. The Bible says that we have to examine ourselves in our words, in our attitudes. So that's what I'm asking you today. In the activity you do, can be, as I said, ministry, can be local church activities, can be for yourself in your everyday life. Maybe you talk to the kingdom at your job, at your club, or I don't know, maybe you do soccer, swimming, whatever. In everything you do for the kingdom, what is your motivation? Try to examine some instances where, well, that was not really out of humility, this one. So next time it's going to happen, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change my way of thinking. It's very important to know that. Very important to understand that. So when I get more and more into humility, I will see that He's going to be more and more in my activity. And I'm going to be more and more usable by Him. And the more we die, the more He lives in us. Do you remember what Paul says? It is no longer me who lives, but Christ who lives in me. This is a big task. To come to a point where it is no longer me who lives. I don't do anything for myself, but for the kingdom, but for Him. It is no longer me who lives, but Christ who lives in me. And again, you heard me say that in previous teachings. Of course, I'm not talking about neglect myself, not taking care of myself. It's not what I'm saying at all. But I talk my first motivation. I talk about my first thoughts, my first motivation to act, my first motivation to talk should be Jesus living inside of me. And for the one who experienced that, when we talk about that in the teaching we did maybe 2 or 3 months ago about dying to ourselves, I was saying in that teaching that the more we die and the more He lives, the more it is pleasant for us to die. So you will see that if you want to be usable by God, the more you get into humility in your way of thinking, which will impact your way of acting and your way of talking, the more you get into that humility, the more joy and the more peace you're going to have. James 4 says, God resists the pride, but give grace to the humble. Sorry, and it's not about God resisting you. Well, you are pride, I'm going to resist you. No, it's me by my own stupid actions, by my own stupid words, or by my own stupid way of thinking, out of pride, that I just shut down everything with God. That's what it means, God resists the pride. So I put myself in a situation where I can't get anything from God. Humility is the open key to get everything from the kingdom in my life. So the more I get into that humility, the more joy I'm going to have, the more peace I'm going to have, the less pressure I'm going to have, the less stress I'm going to have. How many times we hear pastors doing burns out, getting depressed? Most of the time, it's because they did everything from a human standpoint. And it's not something that they purposely did wrong. It's not what I'm saying. But they did it. We can see suicide with pastors sometimes. That's so terrible and sad. This just shows us that it's not because I am in ministry that I'm doing things perfectly. So the more I'm going to die, the more I'm going to let Him live inside of me. Christ who lives in me. The hope of glory. Hallelujah. So the more joy I'm going to have, the more peace I'm going to have. So I will get all the benefit of it. So dying to myself, getting into humility is beneficial for us. It's not about, as most of society says, oh, you want to get into humility, you want to put yourself down. No, humility in the kingdom is a strength and not a failure at all. So the more I get into humility, the more I'm going to get usable by God. The more result I'm going to have, the more peace I'm going to have, the more joy I'm going to have. Simple as that. Do you keep your words, for instance? We talked about that briefly in the previous, I think, a couple of weeks ago in the previous teachings. Do you keep your words? Are you known by your friends, your relatives, as a person that keeps his words? Do people say about you, well, if he say it, he's going to do it, you can be 100% sure? Or are you that kind of person who people say, well, yeah, he said it, but don't worry, he's not going to do it? What kind of person are you? Again, it's very rare to be 100% one person or 100% the other one. It's sort of about a mix of everything. So again, be humble, be objective, and try to see. When did you keep your word? And when you didn't keep your word? What I apply in my life for many years, if I'm sure or if I'm unsure that I can't do something, I'm not going to say it. Does it happen in my life that I'm saying something and I'm not doing it? Yes, it can happen sometimes for many other reasons. And I can ask for forgiveness for that. There's not a problem. I can see the person. If someone is involved in it, I say, okay, I said that, but I'm so sorry, I can't make it, or things like this can happen in your life, but that's not what I'm talking about. In general, when you say something, do you stick on what you said? Do you value your words? If you want God to use you, if you want God to be inside your activity, ministry or local activity, personal activity, whatever it can be, if you want God to be inside of it, you got to respect your words. You got to do what you say. Because if you don't, you're not a trustable person. If you have kids, for instance, and I'm sorry for the one who don't have kids, but you can imagine. We always think about teenagers, and we all have been teenagers in one part of our lives. Do you remember when you were a teenager? Sometimes your parents will tell you, can you do this? Oh, yes, I'm going to do it. Yes. And then the next day or a few years later, your mom and dad come to you and say, oh, did you do that? Oh, no, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. I said, but I don't want to do it. If this happens more and more, I just kill the trust. And people can't trust me. Because they're going to say, well, yes, he said he's going to do it, or he said he's going to say it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's going to say it. I'm not sure if he's going to do it. So I don't know. I can't rely on that person. That makes sense, doesn't it? Same thing for God, guys. Exactly the same thing for God. How can God use me if I am not a reliable person? Sorry to say, but it's impossible. Even for God himself. If I don't make myself reliable, respecting my own words, God can't rely on me. And you're going to tell me, oh yes, Frank, but God knows everything. He's omniscient. Yes, okay. He knows everything. He knows everything, the outcome of everything, yes. But if God knows that you're not going to do something that you said, or that you're not going to say something that you said you will, why do you want God to rely on you? Of course he knows everything, yes. But why do you want God to rely on you? Why do you want God giving you responsibility in your ministry, in your activity for him? God's not going to do that. Because if you don't respect your words, you are not a reliable person. Be mature. Move forward in maturity. Realize and understand that you have to be reliable. And beyond your relationship with God, you got to be reliable with other human beings. You got to be reliable in your job. You know what? Otherwise, you're going to lose your job. Simple as that. You're going to be reliable with your friends. Because if you're not, you're going to lose your friends. And I'm sorry to say, even with your spouse, if you are not a reliable person, years after years after years after years, there's a good chance you can lose your spouse. And I'm not talking about in a Christian environment especially, but how many separation we can see with people? Most of the time because they're not reliable. They don't make themselves reliable. So if we go back to God using me, I have to choose to be reliable. In the same way that I have to choose to get into a humility process. Same thing when I keep my words. It's just a decision on my part. Am I going to decide to be a reliable person or not? Choose to be a reliable person. You're going to grow in your ministry. You're going to grow in your activity. You're going to see more and more big results in your life. You're going to see life changing. Depends where you are in your activity, in your ministry, I don't know. But you're going to see results. Get into maturity. Get into humility. Get into reliability. Respect your own words. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago in prayer. When you pray, if you don't respect your words, don't expect your prayer to be fulfilled. Because you put yourself down just by yourself. Same thing if you want to be usable by God. Are you someone with self-discipline? Do you do things straight away? Or are you the type of person maybe when you got something to do, I do it later. I do it later. And then maybe a couple of days later, that things come up again. This time I really got to do it. But I do it later. I do it later. And then suddenly you're against the wall. There's no more time. You got to do it because you got to do it. Oh yeah, I'm going to do it, but quickly, under stress. Are you that type of person? Sadly, many people are like that. They wait for the last minute to do things. So what happened? Most of the time, they don't have time to do things properly. They act under stress, and the result is most of the time poor. They got a poor result. So if you don't have self-discipline, if you don't know, or if you more don't want to discipline yourself and say, well, okay, I got to do it. Now I don't know, I'm relaxed on my bed or I'm sitting on that chair. I don't want to go. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it now. Are you that kind of person? In that case, you have self-discipline. and this is very good. Or are you the kind of person who do things at the last minute? Or even worse sometimes, people don't do things. Oh yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, because 10 times I said, well, I do it next time. I do it later. I do it next time. I do it later. And I'm not talking about exceptional instances when sometimes there's some, I would say things that will come into the situation and modify the time, modify the action. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in general, when we have plenty of time to do something, but because we're just lazy, we just don't want to do it now. Do you have self-discipline in your everyday life? Because don't tell me, well, in my ministry, I just do everything straight away, but in my everyday life, no, I get more easy. No. You have self-discipline or you don't have self-discipline. I get the fact that it doesn't apply in everything of your life. Yes, I agree with this. But you are self-disciplined or you are not. Simple as that. You can't say, well, in my ministry or in my activity when I am at church, I got self-discipline, but in my everyday life, no, I don't have self-discipline. You have it or you don't have it. If you want to give you all the chance to succeed in everything you have to do, you have to be the same in every area of your life. If you're a nice person, you got to be nice with everyone. If you're patient, you got to be patient with everyone. Exactly the same for this. Do you have self-discipline? Do you do things straight away? Are you able to discipline yourself, to move your flesh, to shake your flesh and say, well, we're going to do it now because it needs to be done and we're going to do it now. And I don't care if I am relaxing or, I don't know, whatever the reason can be. We have to do it now, so I'm going to do it now. If you don't do that, God can't use you. And again, it's all about common sense. Do you want God to give you responsibility? But if He gives you responsibility and you don't do it in time, why do you want God to give you responsibilities? It makes sense, doesn't it? When we think about it. Do you procrastinate, for instance? Oh, I'm going to do it later. Yeah, not now. It's not the right time. Just persuading myself that I'm going to do it later. I'm just lying to myself in that case. Do you want to be used by God? Do you want to be a usable person? You got to go through this. You have to choose to use self-discipline. You have to choose that your flesh is not the boss, but your spirit is the boss. And again, yes, your flesh will always stay weak. But in its weaknesses, your flesh can decide, I'm going to relay to the Spirit. Simple as that. Your flesh can be weak, but the Bible doesn't say that your flesh cannot get into maturity. It will never be maybe 100% mature, but your flesh can move into maturity and say, okay, I'm going to relate to your spirit. I'm not going to try to be the boss anymore. And then, in that case, my flesh, which is my soul and my body, will give access to my spirit in all of my being. And then, I can rule over my being from my spirit. Humility will come in. maturity will come in, self-discipline will come in, and so on and so forth. And then I'm going to be a usable person for God. I'm going to respect my word. And I'm going to move forward more and more and more and more. So remember, guys, yes, you can be in ministry. You can be in the best activity of your church. You can do the best activity in your everyday life for the kingdom. But it's not because you do that that you are a usable person by God. Make sure you are a usable person. And there's many other instances that I didn't say in that video. I just used the main one. But it's very important to remember that we have to be usable by God. Do you know why? When we're going to die from this word, when we're going to leave this word, and we're going to arrive on the other side facing Jesus, I can be in ministry. I can be in the best activity. If I was not a usable person, Jesus will say, let me check. Sorry, no record of that. And you don't want to hear that at all. I hope this video helped you today. See you guys.